Hey folks, welcome back to Rugby Senate. This is Chris, and I'm not in Houston anymore. I'm actually in Dallas. Quite an adventure getting here today, but a real treat for us. We've got someone from Namibia, Welwitcha, to say the least. Adriaan Booysen. Adriaan, how's it going?
I'm doing great. Yeah.
I should have said hoe gaan dit?
Het gaat baie goed, dankie.
Oh, excellent.
That means it's going very well.
Yeah, excellent. So a lot of my audience is based in South Africa, so about 60%. So
that's pretty cool.
So yeah. So they're familiar with that.
Yeah.
So I asked for you specifically because it's rare that I get to interview anybody from Namibia. So
Yeah, we don't have a very big population, so you won't find too many Namibians around the globe. But yeah, we've got about 2.7 million people, so we're pretty rare.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't even know about the rugby, but I'll be upfront with you. I'm not a fanboy, but I am a Welwitcha fan.
That's a good thing, yeah.
And that's mostly born out of course, my audience knows, a big fan of Jacques Burger. So yeah.
Yeah, he's a Namibian rugby legend. I think he's a world rugby legend. So,
he is, yeah.
Yeah, he's probably the poster boy for Namibian rugby, and yeah, if you could have a career like him, you did pretty well.
Well, in fact, when Major League Rugby got started a couple of years ago, I was talking to Rugby United New York, and I encouraged the owner to reach out to Jacques and see if he'd come play for New York. I don't know if he ever tried.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would want to come or not, but it's who knows. So growing up, what inspired you to play rugby?
I think it's like a national sport for us back home. Like, it's a real big deal, and from all our sports in Namibia, I think rugby is probably the one that's gotten to the world stage the most. Like, we've played 6 or 7 World Cups in a row now, which is pretty big for a country that only has like 2.7 million people, I said. And I just think like it's what everyone did, and growing up like that, it's like football over here. You see all the other kids play it, you decide you want to play it, and since then I've never stopped. I started playing when I was 6 years old and never stopped since, so it's pretty fun, pretty enjoyable.
So, a lot of folks I know from Namibia, they're farm boys, they're from out there. What about yourself?
Yeah, I grew up on a farm, and pretty much the same. Went to a small, like, you can almost say like a farm school. We didn't have a really big school, but we had our space. So we always were on the rugby field, just playing touch rugby, and always busy with the rugby ball. Yeah. So I really enjoyed growing up outside the city in a smaller town.
Yeah. It's interesting when it comes to Afrikaans culture and Namibia, because of course you've got the Germans there.
Yeah.
And my travels in Namibia, I speak German, so I meet the Germans, and it's interesting because the Germans are always kind of looking at Afrikaners and saying all those country bumpkin farmers, and the Afrikaners seem to look at the Germans, go, those stuck up in the nose Germans. Yeah. But then I notice all their sons and daughters marry each other, it seems.
Yeah, it gets pretty mixed up. Like, you get a lot of people who have like one German parent, one Afrikaans parent. I think like our language is like originally from Dutch,
yes,
but it's pretty close to German as well. So I think we're more the same than we're different. So yeah, that might be the reason why there's a little bit of
tension right there. Yeah. So 2 things really. A lot of people may think of Namibia, if they know anything about it, might think of uranium, or they think of diamonds from the Spergebiet. But for those a little more attuned to Afrikaans culture, 2 things you think of beyond farming, obviously, is rugby, of course. And you're here about rugby, and then music. Namibia has lots of great music stars from there. Rihanna Nell, and you've got Bonnie Duplessis, and a friend of mine, Giselle, who plays music as well.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I know about the couple who are from there, and they've had a big influence on Afrikaans music. Like, I don't think there's a lot of people around the world that knows Afrikaans music, but obviously being from an Afrikaans family is pretty close to my heart. And I think another thing you can throw in with those 2 are definitely a braai. Just like South Africa, so it's probably rugby, music, and braai. That's probably the 3 things.
In fact, in Houston yesterday, lots of braais going on outside the gates before the game. A big South African contingent there. A smaller one here, not quite the same, but a big one down there. Big one in Atlanta too. I covered Atlanta a lot last year. So you've played for the Welwitchas in the World Cup, haven't you?
Yeah, I played in the 2019 World Cup, which was my first World Cup, and it was an unbelievable experience. Yeah, hopefully we can qualify for the next one. That's the next step after this season, but yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Well, I was in Japan, and I was pulling for Welwitchas. I thought the game against Canada was a lock. You're going to get your first win ever.
Yeah, that's what we worked to. That was what we trained 4 years for. Like, we were really realistic about that, and we felt we had a chance to win. And when you play the bigger teams like New Zealand or South Africa, you just try and go out there and give it your best shot and give it your all. But Canada was the game where we said this was the one.
This is the one, yeah.
It was pretty heartbreaking for it to not happen. But yeah, there were circumstances that just didn't allow it to happen. And I remember for us as a team, we were just like geared up for it. We were ready. And it was a pretty tough way to end the World Cup, but it was still an unbelievable experience.
Well, in fact, that was my prediction, is that you're going to win that game. That's the one I had to mark. And I was at your Springboks game at Toyota City.
Okay, cool.
But literally, there is a top row at Toyota City. I know, because I was sitting in it. That was the worst seat I had in the World Cup. I went to 18 games, and that was the worst seat I had. So I was sitting at the end of the pitch. But I got to watch you guys. You had good, valiant effort early on, but they're kind of tough to keep up with.
Yeah, for us, it's just, like I said, giving it your all. You know, like you're going in as the underdog, but you always have a chance. And that's the mindset we had, and we just said, like, do our processes, do everything to the best of our abilities, and the scoreline is just the scoreline. We need to just play to our best. Yeah.
Well, the Welwitchas had come close before in England in 2015 when Jacques Burger was injured. I was at that game as well. I've been to a lot of Welwitchas games in World Cups, and that was a 17-16 loss to Georgia, which was a really good quality side. So the Canada game I had etched out. I guess we'll have to see when you get qualified, which pool you wind up in, and then see what the chances are this time around.
Yeah. So we've got World Cup qualifiers coming up in France in about a month now, or 3 weeks. And we definitely want to get through those stages and get to the World Cup as quick and as, not as, I would say, as quick and as quickly as possible. The more time you have before the World Cup, the better you can prepare. So that's the plan from now on.
Well, just before we wrap up here, just to ask about your experience on this side of the Atlantic. So we're in Dallas, which I haven't checked the population estimate lately, but I think it's bigger than all in Namibia population-wise. So what's it like to go? I mean, Windhoek is a kind of sleepy national capital. To go from there, and Swakopmund is very small, and Luderitz is really tiny. So you come from a place like that, and you're here in Texas, and everything's big in Texas, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a big adjustment, but I always say Texas is just like a bigger Namibia. Like, we love the same stuff. We love our trucks, and we love our farming. We love our braais and everything, like a barbecue. So it's just a bit bigger. Everything's bigger, and it was an adjustment coming to a city that has like more people in the whole of my own country, and just traveling around. It always, like, we're used to space in Namibia. We've got a very scarcely populated country. We've got a big country, but not a lot of people. And over here, it's just like people everywhere you look. So the first couple of weeks, it is an adjustment, but it's definitely a new experience and a good experience.
Well, that's excellent here. But when you say there's people everywhere you look, but it's not quite like Japan. There's people stacked on top of each other there, aren't there? What was the best thing about that experience in Japan?
I think in Japan it was just the people. Like, they're really friendly, but also really passionate about everything. Like, as soon as we were going to Japan for the World Cup, I was like, it's going to be good. Because the Japanese, they embraced rugby so much in the last couple of years. And at the World Cup, we would have training sessions, and there would be like hundreds of Japanese in the stands just watching us train. And being from a small country, we're not used to that. Like, our national stadium is probably not big enough to keep like 5,000 people. And now you're at a training session, you've got people watching you train. So it was really, really unbelievable. We would go back to the hotel, and you'd have people standing outside wanting autographs, having like Namibian flags, and they just embraced every team who went there, which is really awesome.
Now, about the Welwitchas, really quickly, I think a lot of people don't realize that most of the players historically haven't been professionals. I mean, Jacques Burger was an exception. Most are just farm boys or guys who play the game in varsity, and they come out for the national side. And despite that, Namibia has continued to qualify World Cup after World Cup after World Cup. And now we're just waiting for this latest qualification. But don't feel bad. The Eagles haven't qualified yet either. Shh, I'll be interviewing Gary Gold back in July. So.
Like, for me personally, at the previous World Cup, I wasn't professional either. I was still playing club rugby in my own country, and just at an amateur level, or even you can call it semi-professional, because we did get match fees sometimes with the national team, but it's still not a full-on professional. So for me, it was an unbelievable experience to go to play against guys who are the best in the world and just doing it every day. Where we either study or work and train in the evenings. So it was definitely an adjustment, but I feel privileged now because it makes me appreciate it more. Like, if you come from a situation where you need to work the whole day and then train in the evening, to now being able to just train, it's unbelievable. I think you just appreciate it more then.
One more question about the World Cup before I let you go, because I've got you here for a second, and that's disappointment you get to play the Canada game, although Canada probably escaped. But disappointment. But of the 3 games you got to play, what was the most exciting or interesting for you? I mean, either the venue or the team you played against, or maybe you had some great play.
I think it was this. I can't pick between South Africa and New Zealand. They were just two different.
No. Hold on. Hold on. I got to interrupt the interview. So remember, folks, always the Springboks, USA, never the All Blacks, and all but England. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, I'll say the best team physically it was South Africa,
Yeah.
obviously, and for us being a neighboring country of South Africa, you grow up supporting those guys. Like it's our big brother, and I think it's the same with Pacific nations supporting New Zealand. Like you always support the big brother, and for us to be playing against those guys who you've been looking up to since you were at school, that was pretty special. But also, I have to throw the haka in there. Playing against New Zealand and facing the haka, that was just as special.
That is a special moment, the haka. It really is. It really is.
So
And,
those are probably my two best experiences so far.
well, 2023 in France, let's turn it into a Welwitchas victory, and that'll be the best one.
Yeah.
That'll be awesome. So, last question, and I'll let you get out of here, and that is, what's it like playing here in the States in rugby? Because a lot of people don't think of the USA in rugby, although we have the second largest number of rugby union players in the world. We're a big country, we ought to, but a lot of people don't realize how big rugby is here because it hasn't been professional until recently. So what's it like for you over here? Because I mean, it's not just Americans. I mean, there's a lot of South Africans and Namibian. We've got lots of Kiwis, people from the UK, all over the world. So what's the rugby like for you playing at MLR?
It was definitely an awesome experience so far. I've been here for 3 years and to experience the different cultures, being in Houston, being over here. Like I just moved around in Texas, so I enjoy Texas so far. But on the rugby side, it's definitely growing in America. I can obviously feel every year the level going up. Since I got here 3 years ago to this year, it's already a big step up, which is good for American rugby to see the league growing and having a better quality league. And also just seeing how many fans are getting involved and how every year the matches have more supporters, which is pretty awesome. So I think it's growing a lot, and it's exciting to see where it's going to go. And yeah, just the style of rugby, it's fast, it's very physical. So yeah, that's awesome. I love it. I love the way they play rugby, and I think it's going to be good for the American rugby in the future as well.
Excellent. Don't forget, folks, of course, we got the World Cup in 2031 and 2033, the men and women in that sequence after Australia gets it, the two prior ones. Well, there you have it, folks. Adriaan Booysen from Namibia. Bye-bye, donkey. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
Bye, donkey. Have a good day. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.